Edutech in C is still far behind compared to North America, but there is some hope in this interview. D2L Regional Director Asia Nick Hutton explains the challenges faced in edutech adoption in the Southeast Asian region. One of the areas in the tech industry which has been gaining more and more attention over the years is edutech. At the 5th Asia-Pacific Meeting on Education 2030 APMED 2030 meeting, Shigeru Aoyagi, director of UNESCO Bangkok, stressed the correlation between education and poverty eradication. Of all factors considered, low literacy skills are most strongly associated with poverty, socioeconomic disparity, and particularly the gap between rich and poor, he said. Reducing poverty requires that countries invest in equipping their populations with functional skills in reading, writing, and numeracy. As bringing equal access to education becomes of primary importance to governments, more and more founders are realizing the ways in which technology can be used to reach a wider network of people. To realize this common goal, there have been many investments poured into startups working in the sectors. The Southeast Asian region has recently seen high-profile funding rounds raised by the likes of Ruangguru, Haruka Edu, Xenius, Education, and Greju. One of the leading edutech startups is D2L, which is a global software company headquartered in Canada but operating in all parts of the world. It is also the developer of the Brightspace Learning Management System, which is a cloud-based software used by schools, higher education, and businesses for online and blended learning, currently also integrated into some of the top institutions in Singapore like SIM, SMU etc. In an exclusive interview with E27, Nick Hutton, Regional Director Asia at e-learning platform D2L, talks about the challenges faced in promoting e-learning adoption in this region and why edutech in C still has a long way to go compared to other countries. A common misconception. Before we delve deeper into the challenges, Hutton believes that it is important to clarify the common misconception about edutech. There is a common misconception about edutech in Southeast Asia. It is believed that e-learning is fully online. But in reality, it happens in three forms: face-to-face environment, blended learning, and complete online learning, he says. He further explains that the first way edutech can enhance learning is through a face-to-face setting, where software is used to enhance learning in institutions. The second way is through blended learning, where a certain amount of time is spent in class and online courses. The last way is through complete online learning. Asia and C are far behind in the use of technology in assisting learning, he continues. North America has taken the lead, UK is pretty ahead, Australia and New Zealand to an extent. Hong Kong and Singapore have also largely incorporated it. But Hutton is of the opinion that C and Asia are still largely untapped markets when it comes to incorporating e-learning into mainstream institutions. For example, an institution in Indonesia with 40,000 students will use technology in content, but it is still not seen as a campus-wide initiative. As the regional director of D2L, which comes from the phrase "desire to learn," he believes that what sets D2L apart from the rest of the edutech startups is that the platform allows learning in all three forms. Instructing the instructor. Keeping up with edutech trends is essentially important as technology radically aims to change everything we do, from banking, socializing and purchasing. That also means convincing teachers to move away from orthodox modes of learning to more unconventional ways. It is not difficult to introduce millennials or the younger Gen Zs to e-learning. In fact, students expect to learn in a Facebook-style manner, he jokes. But the main problem in this region are the teachers, he stresses. They see it as replacing, rather than enhancing. It is difficult to convince them to change when they have been teaching in one particular mode for 20 years, he underlines. And that is a difficult conversation to have. A changing landscape. When asked about how the government fares in encouraging edutech adoption, he does not hold back. Governments are still very much in the dark ages, he says. According to him, governments find it very difficult to recognize accredited courses that lead to a degree in a completely online environment. However, that being said, times are radically shifting, and 10 years ago it was far more important to get a degree from an accredited institution because it had a lot more kudos associated to it, and also because of organizations in the past looked for somebody with an undergraduate degree of a certain level in a certain field. He comes to the conclusion that despite all the hurdles, there is a new trend of lifelong learning evolving. Working professionals are starting to become more interested to have more skills to compete in the marketplace. And employees are changing the way they are accepting these online certificates. Degrees do not have to be from institutions, and the future of work and learning is driving that. The problem for higher education arises because now, and in the future potentially there will be other deliverers of education around who are starting to deliver great education in a lifelong learning mode. Noticing the shift in the learning landscape which poses a certain amount of threat to these institutions, they are now aiming to use technology much more smartly.